Hi, I'm Chris Deller. I'm a grassland soils expert. I'm just going to spend a few minutes just to cover what options we've got for bridging the forage gap that we've now fallen into following a nasty winter, a slow old spring and the last recent dry spell. There's a lot of people who are now 20, 30, even 40% short of forage and are starting to panic. Stocks are limited because this is a nationwide shortage, and Northern Europe as well. So in terms of buying in forage, we're kind of limited and prices certainly are on the up. The first thing is to assess how short you are. I don't want people rushing out as a knee-jerk reaction and buying forage at high prices. So everybody really needs to assess forage stocks, so count your bales, measure your clamp, work out what stock of silage you have got. Dry matter is crucial. Now, people are saying, oh, I've got less bales, but dry matters this summer are a lot higher. So the shortage might not be as bad as you think. So measure up your clamps and get your silage tested so we know what dry matter we're looking at. And then we can do a calculation on what are they going to need to take them through the next 8 months. So we can do an assessment of animal requirements based on dry matter intake, and we know that on average a spring calving suckler cow, for example, this winter will take about 1.5% of her body weight in dry matter. So a 600 kilo cow needs about 9 kilos of dry matter a day. If I know how much my animals need, I can then say, well, okay, 9 kilos of dry matter at 40%, crikey, that's 22 kilos fresh silage a day. So that's what needs to go in to feed that animal. We need then to know how many days she's in the shed. So for me, it'll be 150 days. So I can multiply that up and I come somewhere close to about 6 bales a cow. If my silage is at 40% dry matter, my bales are around about half a tonne. Everybody's got their own calculations to do on the amount of stock you've got and what you want to carry through winter, how long you want them in, how big your bales are, how dry they are. So everybody just sit down, back of a fag packet calculation, what amount of silage do I need to take me through till March, April, whenever you're going to turn out. Having come up with a number for what you've got, you then think, well, okay, if I'm short, how do I fill the gap? The obvious one to start with is to get rid of stock that you don't need. So we've been telling people for weeks, get rid of cull cows, get them PD'd now, get them gone. Think carefully about stores and finishers. The store market's starting to pick up now. I've got a bit of green grass in front of us. So it might be that just to rather than hold on to animals to finish this winter, we can find a store market for them. And okay, it is going to be a drop in price, but you are going to be saving feed as we go through November, December, January. The other option then is to think about splitting stock down. So anything I can pin a little tighter and cut back on their ration. So condition score everything. Anything that's carrying condition, we know we can squeeze back. We were all talking about weaning early through the summer with ewes and lambs. Now the decision is about weaning springborn calves. So rather than wean at housing, maybe we could wean them at September, tighten the cows up a little bit. Most stock are looking good despite forage shortages through the summer. Most people are quite pleased with condition and the state of animals, so there's probably scope to pin them back on some rough old ground for a few months. So first option is talk about your stock. The next one to think about is obviously, can I buy in something? We know everything's expensive. The upside is quality of silage and hay tends to be quite good, but certainly things like maize crops are going to be short, fodder beet is struggling, kale's been poor, swedes have failed. There's not going to be a heap of forage out there. If you know you need it and you want to buy it, I would suggest buying it now. Plenty of people are looking at straw and concentrate diets. Okay, more expensive, but if it's in the barn and in the tower, then you can sleep easy at night. So yeah, buying in is still an option, and certainly again we can buy in feed to target animals and get them off farm. So creep feeding lambs, I've got no problem with. As a grassman, as long as the creep is targeted to the best animals. So our other option then, if we don't want to buy in, is to grow more. We're only mid-August. I've still got 20-25% of the growing season left. All right, I've lost opportunities for some forage crops, but it's still an opportunity to put forage rape, stubble turnips, or a reseed. Now, if you've got an old field full of creeping bent and Yorkshire fog, it might grow a tonne, maybe a tonne and a half of dry matter through up until end of November. But a reseed, even if it went in today, next week, will still grow to 2.5 tonne of dry matter. So I can double my yield per hectare on a long-term lay. If I'm really short of forage, I could look at establishing Italians, ryegrass, forage rye, something that will give me far more yield It'll also grow at lower temperatures. It'll give me something for the spring as well. Forage rape and stubble turnips, I've got nothing there in January, February. Whereas Italians and Westerwolds in the ground now will grow 3.5, 4 tonne of dry matter this side of Christmas, and then I'll have fresh grass in February to turn ewes and lambs, young cattle onto. Be careful, seed is limited. Everybody's having the same thoughts. The arable boys in England are buying bucket loads of Italians to grow to sell to us, along with their black grass. So if you're going to go ahead and do some reseeding, be it forage crops or grass, get your orders in now, get the seed on the farm, because stocks are running out rapidly. The other option is just think about what you've got ahead of you. You know, I've got a field in front of me that 3 weeks ago was brown as anything. I've let the nitrogen that was in the system come into grass, and then this will get now 30, 40 kilos of N, so 25, 30 units of nitrogen to kick on to hopefully a cut in 3 weeks' time. I'm not going to go mad with fertiliser at the minute, nitrogen, because there's quite a lot of nitrogen in the soil, but certainly it needs a top-up plus sulphur, because we're short of sulphur this time of year, especially with no rain. And think about all your fields across the farm. Don't go chucking nitrogen around everywhere, but if you've got young lays, they'll respond. And I'd be quite happy to go with nitrogen right through September. Certainly some of the dairy areas we can go on into October. Return on investment, if I'm getting a response of 15 to 1, my grass is only cost me 6 or 7 pence a kilo. It's no return on investment if I'm putting it on poorer fields. All I get is slightly greener Yorkshire fog and creeping bent. So target late season nitrogen to your best fields, and it's little and often. I say we can still grow on a good field like this. I can still grow 3.5 tonne of dry matter. So we can still get out of some of the problems we're in. But I say the basics for everybody is do your sums and know exactly what sort of shortage you've got, and then look at your options. Grow more, put in reseeds, or buy some grub. The other one we're going to think about is cutting back on wastage. You know, I need to make sure that I utilise everything I've got in this field. Autumn grazing can be very wasteful. So if we're going to graze it, it's electric fences and attention to detail. And if we're going to put it in silage, we need to think carefully about using additives, making sure all bales are double wrapped and looked after, and the clamp management spot on. Because if you're short of forage, you don't want to be wasting 10, 15, 20% by poor utilisation or poor clamp management.